This is just an AMZN on Monday, July 9th, 2018. The pre-market, it looks like we're gapping up. Friday was a bullish candle, so this is a bullish retest gap here. We've actually got a little bit of a move breaking out of the pre-market high here. So it makes sense that we could pull back a little bit, even pull back into our support line here, retest all the way back down into Friday's highs, or back down into the 1708, 1709, the previous day's high, or just hover around this line and then bounce. That'd be great. I think we've got another line a little bit overhead here, so we'll see if we can pull back and then make it up to that line or something. But things are looking bullish. We'll zoom back out and take a look at the daily when we're done, because there's some similar things going on to what's happened in the past. So let's walk through today. Get a bit of a pullback from this breakout, pulled back down into kind of the lows here, and got bought back up, right up into the high, the pre-market high, I should say. So, a pretty decent move on the 5-minute. This is something that could have been traded on a 1-minute, being a retest that somebody could have been shorting up here, looking to just scalp back down as it's going to retest, and got out for some profit. In this area there was some buying back down in here. If we continue on, looks like we have a little bit more of a pullback. We're pretty close, almost to our 17, 14, and 50 cent price, but it looks like it's going to kind of bounce again. This is an inside candle, but it does show a little bit of bullishness, a little more buying that we actually in positive, rather than these two candles with those large lower wicks. And then here we go. Looks like we've got a little bit of a breakout here. So you could say this is a bit of a Morningstar reversal, 4 candles squished together, Morningstar reversal. And we know that we're not taking the breakouts. We wanted it to retest back down into a level that we liked, like down into the pre-market low. I mean, even if you had bought here with a stop down here, that would have been a great place. This low here, 17, 16, 23, is still a little bit above Friday's high, but still, you could have been getting anything set up to buy in this area where there was some pre-market support, a stop below our line, and that would have been working right now, probably for an hour or two up here. But we are breaking out. It's a retest gap. We want to pull back a little bit more and then get in bullish. So we could have another opportunity. Yep, right here, another opportunity to buy down here, and then it starts to bounce again, and then another opportunity to buy down here, and then it starts to bounce again. A couple opportunities to take this bullish. We're establishing an intraday low in this area where we had a pre-market low, and that's just phenomenal. We had a little bit of a lower high, a little bit of a higher low, a little bit of consolidation here, but we have a bit of a pattern here that shows that we may continue. This is kind of bookends. These last 4 candles, we got a little bit of selling with some bookends of buying, and it looks like we're actually getting above the high on the previous candles and looking to head a little bit higher. So we will continue on the day. We got some squeeze forming here too. It looks like we're breaking out. So we actually broke out, made it up to our next line, which is 17.2780 cents. A great target to have right up here. If you had done any buying down in this area, that would have been a great target. Great place to take some profit, exit all. That's our next line. See what it does to interact there. Our squeeze hasn't even formed, or hasn't even triggered yet. So we'll continue on. Got a nice high wave candle, smaller candle, but high wave candle, indecision doji on that price. An inside candle, and then a little bit of a higher move, and it's actually breaking out. Here comes the retest. A really nice hammer candle right there. That's a very small retest. So we only had kind of a 2 candle or 3 candle flag here, and then a hammer looking like we're going to bounce. And I would like to see this come back. So it pulled back to this line, but this being a bullish retest gap, we had some move Friday where we had some consolidation, broke out, came into a line, pulled back down to the previous high, and then did this kind of double bottom thing and bounced back up to the line. I want to see something similar to that, not just a pullback into the line. I mean, we did get past it, but barely. And we're up already. Somebody could have been buying down here. You're up, an hour or two at least. And I want to see a little more of a pullback. This pullback doesn't quite get into the levels here, either at the open, 1724, or something like this where it comes back down into that breakout point, which would have been 1723, 22, somewhere in here. So that's what I'm looking for, a little bit more of a pullback, even back into that continuation pattern here. So 1720, let's say 1723, and then it'll look like it's shaping up like it did Friday, continuing higher. So that's what I'm looking for a pullback. It does start to look like a double top here, and it could actually break down a little bit more. It looks like, it could break a neckline, continue lower. People are going to get in bearish. So some sideways consolidation, a bit of definitely a consolidation pattern here. And this is looking like this yesterday. But like I said, I wanted to see this pull back a little bit more. If it does break out, I want to see a 5-minute close above 1730 and get a stop down here around 1726. And it does start to break down a little bit more. All right, so now if I'm going to continue higher, still 1730, the stop, 1725 because it came down a little bit further. But I'm still looking for it to pull back a little bit more. There we go. All right, so now we're at the price really close to open. People are a little non-bearish. And continue down. All right, what was this wick? 1724. So we got into the open price with that wick. This looks like a little bit of a morning star reversal. Didn't quite get down to 1723. 1724 is the price in the low here. But look at this. This is a great larger flag or just a rotation. This is the S curve. This looks like it's going to go higher. It looks similar to this. There was a lower wick. Looks like the same pattern we had earlier, bullish with these two bookend candles. You have those two bookend candles here. And then at one point, this would have looked like a very strong bearish candle, high volume, and then got bought up and turned into another hammer. And then a Morningstar reversal formed after that. And you could be in, above that with a stop here. You've got the retest now. All of these would have been a retest on a much smaller time frame. This is definitely an S curve and a retest of the highs from the earlier in the day, and a retest really close to our breakout point here. So this is what I want to see continue higher, and here it goes. It just continues sideways a little bit, breaks out, continues sideways. We're right in the same area we were consolidating like this earlier. A little bit of a flag, and then bullish engulfing, a little bit of a flag, bullish move, and it kind of stair steps for a little while, and then just chugs higher until we get into the close. And had you gotten in down here with these values, no guarantee it was going to work. It could have definitely double topped here, broken down, retested, and then rolled over. Could definitely have done that, but it didn't. And in this case, it did actually play out with a really nice S curve here. And this would have been a great move. You could have grabbed any of this. This would have been a great move. Much smaller candles, just kind of chugged higher. So this is where I was looking to get in on something bullish with these higher highs. I'm sorry, higher lows here. They almost connect up to this area. I didn't really draw them in, but let's see if we can get a really quick drawing in here to show that. There you go, look at that. Connect those up. That's phenomenal to see that kind of a trend, that we came right back into it. And there's probably another moving average or something that could align with it a little bit better. But just seeing that trend line come in there like that, and then on the highs, oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's see what we got on the highs. Yep, very similar to, so we made highs here, broke out, retested, and then came right back up into it here. So the same thing on the upper side. So really we're just on this upward channel here, this trend, moving on up. And we'll take a look at the daily in just a sec, but had you waited till this candle, gotten in on this candle, so 1220, gotten in bullish. Let's take a look at 1220. So this candle getting bullish could have gotten in, let's say 510, and a stop down at 410. That would have been your 1R is $100. It would have just kind of been up half an hour or so, and then started to move up, and you could have trailed your stop up to 525, and then 575 or 550 maybe, and then into the close it just rallied. So 510 by 410, and you could have exited at 810 or something, for a 3R trade, and maybe a little bit more than that if you had just been trailing your stop and then exited at the close. That would have been 3.5R on just this move. And now had you been buying the lower wicks, once it put in this first one, the low there at 370, you could have set up a trade to buy 4 by 3, bought here at 4, or even here right around 4 by $3, and taken that up for a 3R in the morning, and then let that pull back, and then gotten in. Could have set up 4 by 3 again, but it wouldn't have filled. But seeing that trend line on the daily, on the 5-minute, connecting these, you don't really have the same kind of connection, but a little bit higher. So this is a low, a little bit higher low, a little bit higher low, a little bit higher low. So the trend, it's not a straight line in here on the option, just because it's losing premium, and it's moving a little bit differently than the stock price itself. But if you had connected this up, said, hey, when it comes down into that line, I'm going to buy whatever that price is. You could do something similar. Probably going to be a little bit higher than this low. So what's the next solid number? Maybe 450. Buy 450 by 350. Instead of waiting for it to break out here at 510 at the closing price. Had you gotten in 450 by 350, that would have almost doubled. 450 up to 9, almost doubled. 450 to 850, that would have been a 4-hour trade. So there were definitely some places you could have been just waiting on that trade, had it set up, getting in on something based on a trend line. And what I probably should have done, let me see if I can pull this back in, is connected this back this way. Oh, that's really close too. So I didn't do this. Let me put that back over there, and we'll just pull this other end down. Come on. Pull way back over here. Look at that. That's the trend. So that's the trend we were following. Started Friday. Look at that. The low in the morning, touched again before the close, bouncing here, bouncing here. That's the trend. So it started Friday. And if we do that again, I'm trying to copy it. So let me copy it. All right. So if I can't grab it, there we go. If I move it up, okay. It's not cooperating. Anyway, I showed you that it was doing something similar up here, but I guess up here, kind of there. It just shows that we could go a little bit higher to hit the top of that channel. I can redraw this, zoomed out a little bit, but anyway, the only thing you could have done with maybe a little bit of a pullback here is with some puts. Once it got way up here, it's like, okay, it's due for a pullback into this line. But looking at the puts, this is the 1700 put. Sorry, the call I was looking at was a 1750 call. just because it had a nice $100 risk. That would have worked out nicely. Would have just moved slowly, but you just need to get it up to 2R. That would have been $200. Easy to do on this option, being a little bit out of the money on a Monday. We want to do something a little closer as the week goes on. But looking at the put, this is a 1700 put, and the option just went sideways this entire stretch in here. Moved up a little bit, so hit a low 435 up to 530? No, 533. There you go, 533. So a little bit of a move, but nothing really to get excited about for a rollover. Not with this option, at least. Could have gone with something again a little bit closer to in the money or at the money. If we come back over to the daily, this is what I'm seeing here. So this is a bullish retest gap, but the location of this gap was key. This opened at 1724.05, and then this opened at 1723.96. That was key. This candle opened up above that candle. Anybody who shorted in this stretch here is now trapped. This was their kind of last chance to have this thing roll over. But what I'm seeing, these candles here looks really similar to these candles here. This was a little more sideways, whereas this had a little bit more of an uptrend. But this gap, this was a bullish retest, a bullish gap and go. But again, this open was above all of the previous opens, and anybody who had been going short through here, they're now trapped. Just like anybody who had been going short through here is not trapped. And what's key with this is, or what's also interesting, is this turned into a bullish retest, and then did end up retesting. It actually came back, filled that gap, took out the low of these candles, and looked like it was going to go lower. And then that's when it bounced during that day. And then the next day, I think it was this day or this day. No, it was this day. It was a couple days later was earnings. That was back in April, about 3 months ago. Earnings is coming up again. I don't have the date on here in July for when it is, but it should be later in July. But we may be a couple weeks away from earnings on Amazon. And what's interesting is, with this being a bullish retest, we could come up to a previous resistance, previous large bearish candle, which could be either of these. We could come back up here. I mean, it's not even far to go. We could do it tomorrow. Come back up, make a new all-time high. People load on, because it's breaking out, and they want to get another breakout. And then it rolls over again, just like this rolled over again. Looked like it's going to roll over. This would look like a bit of a wonky double top. It's going to look like it's going to roll over. Comes right back into, I think there's some more moving averages in this area here. Looks like it's going to roll over. Maybe takes out a couple lows in here. Maybe these lows here. Maybe not these. It might hold this level. It should hold. This level. 16. What price was this? 1617.54. Should hold that price. I don't really see it pulling back that far, but it could. That'd be a really nice correction, and then continue higher, just like this one did. Pulled back, took out a couple lows, continued higher. Even with earnings, continue higher. I mean, if we have some selling going into earnings and we end up having bearish candles right before earnings, I would expect this thing to just gap up and just run. Instead of gapping up and retesting like these, I would expect it to gap and just raise on higher. Just with this consolidation we've had, this is really a distribution phase here. Let it distribute some more. But take those trades, as it moves up a little bit more, pulls back. We still have this squeeze forming. We didn't have a squeeze through here, but we had a lot of waning bearish momentum. We had a squeeze through here that triggered bullish. We know how that played out with so many bullish candles. But I'm just seeing a lot of similarities to this, not so much with the squeeze, but we had a little bit of bearishness here with the squeeze forming, and then it looks like already it's coming out of that today. It's kind of swinging back up. Not quite positive, but has made the swing. This is a lower yellow candle, or the yellow weighting there, whatever that is a little bit, it's lost the bearish momentum. It's starting to shift. That's all I'm trying to say. It's shifting towards the positive. It's just not positive yet. But anyway, that's kind of a look on the daily, seeing what's going on through here. And the similarities backed in here. So look for a couple days, at least one more day of a bullish move and then a pullback. If it doesn't want to do that, if it ends up pulling back tomorrow, it's going to trap some people who went bullish here. Could immediately come back and have a little more retest, and then I'd want to see it actually take out a couple of these lows. More people go get into it bearish, and then it traps them just like this, gets up above that. If you look at this, even though this was a bullish retest gap, we retested, but we stayed above, mostly stayed above these candles. I mean, I don't think we had another close below them. Yeah, these three candles, we haven't closed below those. Like, that's how strong this gap was in this distribution pattern here, consolidation. The location was above these bearish candles. All these people were trapped, and there's a lot of that going on in here. There's so many bearish candles right in here that if we just get above them, some bears are going to be trapped, and it could just run, or it could pull back. I'd rather see it pull back, bears load in again, and then rip higher. So I really have to continue to look at it and see what's going on. Let's see, I think that was all I wanted to go over. Let's see if we look at, instead of the 1750, let's look at the 1740, because we actually got to right at the money with that one. So this one had a little bit of a lower low here. This is one that would have been harder to trade, maybe 7 by 6 or 750 by 650, but then you're really close to this value. So but that would have been moving in your favor really quickly. Could have gotten in, let's say 750 by 650 here. So 750 up to, let's say 1250. So that's 5R on that move. And all you had to do really was trail your stop up and just let it work for you. So if we look at the 1725 call, this has a little bit more of the trend line. Let's see if I can draw it in here. It's shown up again a little bit better. Oh, come on. Snap. There you go, close enough. There's the trend line. So here's the low, here's a little bit higher low, higher low, higher low. Could have been buying off that line on the option, because you're basically at the money when this thing opens. And then you get into the money for the rest of the day pretty much. So this is going to follow the stock a little better, because you're not just losing that premium as it's moving up on the call. So anyway, but this is another place you could say, hey, if it comes back down in here, this is a good place for it to S-curve. This is right into that breakout area here. This was the bookends in this area. So let's say it's going to pull back into that candle. I'm going to buy 14 by 13. You'd have to really know by that amount, or have a larger R if you're playing this, at the money on Amazon. You could have done 14 by 13, could have done 14 by 12, get it down below here. So that, so you did 14 by 13. It went up to, 22. So that's 8R on that kind of a move. So could have been buying here, made some, from buying at 12 by 11, or, and taking that up 2R to 14, and then gotten out, and then done it again, getting at 12, or about 12, 12.10, yeah, so maybe a little bit more than 12, 12.50 by 11.50, and taking that up, let's say you got it up to 17.50, so that's 5R, so 2R, 5R, 8R, all in one day, just being able to take each piece of that bullish. That'd be a phenomenal day to be able to do that kind of stuff. So, but that's a setup. That's what we're seeing, with all these different retests through here, just consolidating between these two levels, breakout, retest, and then continuation. So be really interested to see how this continues, if this continues to trap people, and you know, if more bears are going to hold thinking, oh, it'll just roll back over, and see if it actually does or not. So this is also on Monday, so this is a it should be a bullish, let's see, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, so it's Tuesday, Monday, yeah, so this is a bullish gap and go weekly. Let me take a look at weekly. No, retest. What was I thinking? Oh, I'm looking at the close. Okay. So if I go back to the daily, so it's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Okay, so that one, yes, this is a bullish retest on the weekly also. So that's the open of the week. That's the close of the week. That's positive. But take a look back at the weekly. Sorry, we'll go back into this one more time. You know, bullish retest here. There's a bullish retest here. We came back into, you know, this this consolidation here is what we're looking at. This high wave inside, and then a bullish retest, and then you know, it does actually retest and then goes. That's kind of thing we could see in here, similarly in here. So, it's crazy looking back at this thing, how much it's moved back when it was 1,000, and then has just torn higher. It's crazy. So on a weekly, you know, we had a little bit of bearishness. That's enough of a rest, though. We're still in the 5 exponential on a weekly, and that's okay. You know, we came back in here and we touched that. Wow, I didn't realize that happened. 1352.07, 1352.88. That's a really close touch of that level. Wow. On a weekly, could have been buying there. That's phenomenal. And the last time it touched it was that candle when it broke out. So stands to reason it could touch that value again and then break out. That's what it did. Pretty phenomenal. So we'll come back into the daily. This is a little more than just the 5-minute that I usually go over. Here's the 5-minute again. So we'll see if we can continue higher. A little more of a pullback is okay. If we come back into the 1720s, that'd be definitely a place to buy. But get your setup ready, get your trade ready, and just trade the chart in front of you. So hope you enjoyed the video. This is Justin AMZN. Thanks.